Warriors, welcome back to the Warriors Way mindset. We are going to get into the battlefield of the mind. I'm hanging out with the coaches today. So we're going to get into today. We're going to talk trauma responses. We're going to talk past experiences. And I also want to get into a little bit about what we're doing when we're fighting anxiety a little bit later, because we have some people in here who have been doing the training and getting the results that people are looking for. Otherwise, all right, Forge. All right, Warrior. We talked about trauma response because you sent a video that says when people ask, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? We determined, I'm not asking, are you okay? I'm asking, am I okay? Because I don't want you to do anything that's going to hurt me. So I want to make sure if you're okay, I'm going to be okay. And so a lot of times the reassurance aspect of it was important to you. Fair enough. I know I just kind of summarized that real quick before.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
All right. Do you guys have any other ones that you guys like? This was my response system. Let's go through some.
I had a trauma response one, or do you want to go through them first?
No, go for it. Go for it, Dr. Phil. What do you got?
I had a trauma response where it was hiding. It was running away from stuff and going into, when I was a kid, it was going to the basement or going to the room. And then when I got into a relationship that wasn't healthy, I was going to hiding underneath the staircase. It was reverting back to my childhood self until I realized that's what I was doing.
Mm-hmm. How would you do that in relationships?
I'd take a drive, same thing. That's the end of the relationship. Like if things got too heated and I didn't want to take it to the next level of things being ugly and tearing into each other, I would just go into flight, but that would cause a bigger rift at the same time because it would leave the person that was the person I was with, the girl I was with, it left her feeling abandoned and stuff like that. And I didn't realize it until I got through here and started working on it. It was just like, this is bad. I gotta go. Like that's all it was.
So that one goes into the denial aspect. This is the flight mechanism. Run away, retreat, hide, and then also gets into one I think all of us here have gotten to play with for a little bit. What about suppress? Yeah. Push it down. Push it down. Everything's fine. Push it down. It's good.
I'm just going to drive. It's okay.
It's cool. I'm okay. Don't worry about it. I'm fine. I'm like, you okay, Phil?
Fine.
You'd be like,
fine. I'm fine.
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine.
In actuality, totally not fine. Shoving it down, ignoring it, and running away from the problem, literally and emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would just get bigger and bigger and bigger until the point there was it just destroyed the relationship. Was one of them. I mean, there was a lot of contributing factors on both sides. That was definitely one of them.
Yeah, denial is definitely one of them. The flight mechanism, though, run away, hide, suppress. Can't mess with that one. That one's pretty dang common. Can't beat them. Get out of there.
Exactly. Like you can't put hands on people, so you're like, evac is the only other option.
Yeah, you can't. If you attack, you're a villain, which leads to the other one, right? Anybody have the fight mechanism? Anybody have that one? We got fight, flight. Let's anybody have fight? Was that anybody's?
Depends who I was with. I think I chose my battles on that one. You know, a loved one, it was, suppress and flee. If it was somebody that I didn't know, didn't care about, yeah, we were fighting.
It's a funny thing. I remember it was recently we had a guy, he had a moment where he was getting mad at his girl and then blew up at somebody else who I think was trying to calm it down. I don't remember the exact scenario, but I remember it was something like that where my girl's pissing me off. And if anybody else, like if you're at dinner, like let's just say at a restaurant and your girl's having a moment, she starts saying some stuff that's like really not cool. You start reacting really not cool. You're both being really not cool. Both mechanisms kicked in. She starts saying something, you start saying something, and then some dude from outside is like, hey, can you guys please like calm it down? We're in public here. Can you guys shut it down? Ryan, How does that sound to you? Will you just stop and shut it down because that guy said so?
No, that guy's probably gonna be walking outside with me if we make it that far.
These poor, good-hearted, innocent bystanders. It was like, no, seriously, I got kids here, and you guys are screaming, and we try not to teach them the words you guys are using a lot of. Probably not the
And
best
then his
place.
head is getting bounced off the table. Let's be honest.
They're gonna learn a few more words while we're walking outside too.
So how funny is that? The Good Samaritan there, the guy trying to help. I can't actually hit the person that I care about here who's making it so we're having conflict. I can't hit my girl. But if some dude gets involved, it's fair game, right? People would say that seems right. That's not as bad.
Which is
Sadly
so crazy
enough,
when you think about it, isn't it? Right,
Yes,
Ryan,
I
sorry.
mean, sadly, no, you're good, bro. Sadly enough, it's almost worse. I mean, if you're some innocent dude that's just trying to make things cool, calm, and collective gets punched in the mouth because you're too big of a hothead to control it at that point, you know.
I was trying to help.
Yeah.
Just trying to keep the peace. I got
If
my
you don't-
kids here. That's
Yeah.
all.
If you listen to him, there isn't as much of a fight happening. Just calm it down. It's okay. He wasn't trying to dominate you or beat you up. He's just going like, hey, guys, you guys are out in public. Slow down. And that guy gets punched in the face. Come on. So that's untrained. Fight becomes a big problem. Who knows? Press charges, all that stuff. So that's gone out the window because now people use the law for everything now. And so you can't even heck, I've seen people defend themselves and get in trouble.
Yep.
Ryan, you were in police, you were in police stuff, you've been in military stuff. What if somebody is the aggressor, picks the fight, they start fighting somebody who's really good at fighting, and they just mop the floor with that dude. And then the cops come, and they go, no problem. This guy's just beaten to pieces. You're good.
Yeah, that usually doesn't happen because it's tough because both are going in cuffs right away. Like we both know that. It's everybody's going in cuffs till they figure it out, and usually they don't figure it out until you're downtown in the police station, and it's like, oh, he really did start it. Oh, okay. Well, you were defending yourself. Oh, okay. That's after like the reports are written and the investigation happens. So either way, you're still and hopefully it's not a Friday night because you're in the clink till Monday morning. And if it's a holiday on Monday morning, you're fucked. You're fucked even more.
No winning on that one. So we got flight mechanism, hiding, suppressing. What's funny is the "Are you okay" one or the over-explaining. Any of you guys have the over-explain one? You ever seen that one? Somebody who talks and talks and interrupts and talks and talks and talks and has to talk and just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And you're like, listen, you said like 30 things there. I don't even know what you're saying anymore. What is it you actually wanted? I don't even know, because it went all over the place. And that is actually also another form of trauma response. This is somebody who's using the negotiation aspect of it. This is more in the bargaining. This is when people will over-explain so that way they can try to eliminate as many problems as they can. But a lot of times it creates a whole new problem.
It's rationalizing. Okay, go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
No,
you're on the same track. We're on the same track.
Yeah, it just seems like they're stacking multiple things and they can't, it's like having an argument. I don't know, like I feel like a lot of women do that, is they put one thing on top of another, on top of another, on top of another, and you're like, what are we even arguing about anymore? Because you just went back 5 years to stuff that I don't even remember. So it's like, let's bring it back down to the present. What are we actually dealing with right now?
Yeah,
I've ran into that with some of the guys too.
I was going to say, I think it's just because you've only dated women. Listen, you're dating dudes, you'd probably find some bargainers. I'm just saying. You'd find some, because we got some of the guys too.
Well, even with some of the new recruits, you guys have heard it. You know, they'll be on a situation when they're being used as an emotional support crutch, and they'll justify it 9 ways from Sunday, even though it's been over a year. And you're like,
Yeah.
bro, you got to get free. And they'll tell you every other reason why they want a contact or closure, and they won't listen to the 10 guys that are there, people in their lives, because they're hung up on this imagination, this expectation that they have that they're magically going to get this person who's treated them terribly to turn around and it'll solve it. And they're not even the same person they started off with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The stacking for sure. That gets in there. Let me get one of the other people. Christy, we're in a lot of the negotiation aspect stuff, and I'm not going into this one's not even a gender one. This one, I definitely have seen. I've seen all of these on both sides. And so while there may be a more common aspect as far as more fight goes on the guy's side, I think, than the women's side, it's not to say we haven't had women who do, not to say we haven't. And as far as the bargaining and, the flight, not to say we haven't had on both sides that one works. So this is just how people are coping and dealing with their trauma response. But Christy, what's your take on I have both are you okay is making sure I'm okay, and over explaining as being part of my bargaining system for negotiation. But what's your thoughts on it? I don't know if she's there.
I'm here.
Okay.
Like as far as what I used to do or what you just said?
Just what we're seeing. Like we work with enough people, just kind of what's your overall opinion on like our observations, without names.
We've definitely had fight and flights for sure. The reassurance is a big thing for the women. So that are you okay aspect, I can see that pretty prevalent on that side because there's a lot of that. A lot of verbal reassurance is really being asked on that side for sure.
That's true. Here's one thing that's interesting too. What do we do to have the reassurance? Now, reassurance falls under safety security. This falls under, am I okay? This is why that person asking, are you okay? Are you okay? Is really, I'm okay. Am I okay? And when it gets down to, I need reassurance, it does get down to the safety security or even fitting in or acceptance or approval part of it. And that's why people try to make sure that they've covered every angle to make sure I'm okay. I'm good. And you guys get it. I'm good, right? You see me? I'm good. I'm okay. We're good. Are you okay? I'm okay. Are we okay? Like, that's why people would do that. Safety security is an interesting thing. Now, the other side of this negotiation thing is instead of trying to control everything by are you okay or over explaining, have you guys seen the compromise trauma response? How much do I have to give of myself to make it so that we're good?
I think I've seen one time where it was like, I'm like just going to agree with everything that everybody says, just so I don't, ruffle any feathers anywhere because I don't know, just, I'm not sure like why the reasoning is behind it, but it's just, people pleasing. Like, I don't want anybody to get mad or upset or anything at me. So anything that you say, I'm just going to agree upon no matter what.
Yeah, I think, well, that one's a little different because that gets more into the surrender. I give up.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, that's where people are like, whatever, just whatever you say, we'll do that. Like, I think that's a little bit more of the surrender aspect than negotiation. What I mean by this is, whatever you would like to do, I will do that for you. So that way we're good. But it's not like I give up. It's like, I can't wait to serve, but how much of myself can I give for you? And so it's not like I just give up whatever you want. It's a lot more like, hey, I can help you with that. I can help you with that. I can do that. I'll do that for you. I can do that for you. Okay, I'll do that. I can do that. If that makes you happy, I'll do it. And this is where people try to get into people pleasing. That part of like, how much can I give to make it so we're like you're happy? Do you guys know what the curse is for that one? Is you try and take on that their happiness is your responsibility. people pleasing is an interesting one. If only I can do this, then you'll be happy. If I can do that, then you'll be happy. And I'm the one in charge of making you happy. Now, even worse is when people believe that curse is love. And the receiver is like, well, you better make me happy then. What you just didn't make me happy. You're not good at making me happy. You're bad at love. It's an interesting.
And when that happens, the line gets moved again and again and again.
Especially when they believe that you are responsible for making me happy.
Yeah, rather than working on themselves and doing their own self-esteem, building themselves up, they're looking at external validation, which can never last. It's almost like the same thing as being like focusing on material gifts too much. There's always something new. There's always a new level with it. Like, I got you hardwood floors on the house, let's say. Next, let's tile the bathroom. Let's do an addition or whatever the hell versus dealing with whatever the communication problem is. Trying to throw things at it versus talking and actually understanding each other.
Well, even considering I need an act of service, or I need a gift, or I need something so that you can make me happy. It doesn't work because I don't think that person actually knows what happiness is. And so you'll never measure up because every day is just guessing, and it turns into a degree of enabling and expectation. I have a story. I remember we did about a year ago, TikTok. This was a story of Greg taught me. It was a story called the Unbought Flowers. In this story, a friend of his was growing up that he grew up with. He got married, and this guy believed that like getting flowers for his girl, that's just how I'm going to show love. And so every Friday, without fail, he would buy his wife flowers. What a good guy, right? Flowers for my wife. I love you and I want to show you. So he would gift give. Now, one day he got home early and he hadn't gotten them yet. And he got home and the first thing she says is like, hey, where are my flowers? And he was like, oh, hold on a second. You're coming at me pretty hard. And feeling the intensity of the question, he was like, why are you being disrespectful about this? Like, the implication was like, he needs to go get those flowers. And she's like, go get me my flowers right now. And he was like, hold on. I get you flowers out of love and kindness, not obligation. Like, don't come at me like this. Like, slow down a second. Well, this made her even angrier. And she started F-bombing. She's like, go get my fucking flowers now. And he told her, with this level of entitled disrespect for the kindness and love that he's shown, he's like, I will never buy you flowers ever again. He's like, if you treat me, my kindness and my love this way, I am never doing that again. This entitlement, the demands. Now, I asked my buddy, I said, how long have they been together? And he said, they've been together for 20 years. And you said since that day, he has not bought her flowers again. Now, some people be like, what a mean man. He should just go get her flowers, right? I can guarantee you there is somebody who just said he should have just gone and got them without acknowledging entitlement, without acknowledging the way that you treat somebody who loves you and is that kind to you and what that even means. First off, let's look at what the pieces are. This guy was doing obviously an act of kindness / gift giving, right? Now, whether this was him being a good guy or this is his trauma response for trying to make sure he keeps peace, I don't know what it is, but he was just trying to show his appreciation and love. It was a sincere act. He actually wasn't obligated and there was no agreement. He just, I want to do nice things and he will. Well, when she came in and made demands, he came home early. Guys, let's go ahead and just call it out for anybody. If you come home early, what happened? Was it just a good day off? Something happened where you got off early, or he came home and hadn't gotten the flowers yet? Wouldn't that maybe indicate like something is off? right? Something's off. Something just
Exactly.
happened.
Like the schedule's off, something happened at work, something variable kicked in.
We don't know. Could be. Could have been fired. Could have had a really tough day. He's not on normal routine. Something is off right now. Something is not correct. But she immediately skipped that and made the assumption that he's, insulting or not being kind or selfish. And where's my flowers? I think a better way to be with like, hey, babe, I noticed that you didn't get my flowers. How is everything okay? Are you okay? Like, did something happen today?
Where's the concern versus the outright demand and for the entitlement?
Now that's the funny part to it is instead of going like, hey, are you all right? I can notice that something is like, there's a difference in the routine here. Did something happen and are you okay? Now then it would be back on him. He's like, yeah, no, it's okay. I had a big hiccup today, but it's okay. I'm going to head out. I'm going to go grab you some flowers because I do that and I want to do that. But it was a tough day today. Now there's options like, well, would you like to share it with me? Or are you just going to do it on your own? No obligations and no push. Then he can choose, right? No, we didn't go that route. Instead, she started warning that he started warning her like, hey, slow down. This is not an obligation. Slow down. I do this because I love you, not because I have to. Like, please don't cross the line here, because he had to put his boundary up like, whoa, if you disrespect me and treat me bad here, I'm not going to do this for you. And she said, go get my fucking flowers. She dismissed his warning that he was saying, hey, if you do this, I'm going to pull this back on you. And she pushed anyways. She wanted what she wanted. And so she didn't pull back at all. She pushed harder. And this solidified the feeling of being completely unappreciated on his side. And the abundance of blessings simply manifested themselves into entitlement. You can't force your flowers. I think that's the lesson. Don't force your flowers. And people think they can do that with love. You can't demand kindness. And if you want to get far, or you won't get very far trying to command people to love you. It doesn't work that way. That's not how love works. So I would pay attention to the small and brief, beautiful moments, because they are by design temporary. This is the definition for happiness that we have. And when you choose not to appreciate your blessings, you wish you had when they're gone or they're taken from you. And so I just thought about this. This is a real couple with a real outcome of somebody who the way that they handled something turned into an entitlement, a trauma response, a reason that they believed that this person owed me because that person had given so much in the past. It no longer became appreciated. It became expected.
It's such a wild transition from doing something nice and then for it turning into something that you have to defend and set a boundary on, then sore spot.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting curse. Entitlement is also a part of our denial curse. You're not accepting the reality of what is. I'm only seeing what I believe things are and acting accordingly. Which we'll get back to that one a little bit more. So this is where you'll see people, though, over sacrifice for the peace. Now, how many people, like, and there's probably a lot of guys listening to this, like, fuck, I would have just gotten the flower. I would have gotten in the car, tail tucked between my fucking legs, just got her the damn flowers so she would stop. And I just wouldn't forget the flowers again. I mean,
And, I just want her to be happy. I just want peace routine. Yeah.
And so I'll go get the flowers. I'll go get, that's easy. I'll get the flowers. It's way easier than the argument. I gotta give this guy a little bit of credit for holding his ground on that one, because I can't imagine it being the other way around. I can't imagine like you need to go do the thing now. Like, what? No, that's not how kindness works. That's not how love works. And if she's having a tough day and you come home and you start making demands on how she needs to be doing things without asking, it only makes sense that people start shutting down or pulling back, which leads us to the last part, the last ones I've got for trauma responses. That's that depression aspect of it. That's the freeze, shut down, retreat. Like not even retreat. That's just give up. That's surrender. I mean, surrender. A lot of times afraid to even do anything otherwise. Just whatever. Fine, I'll get the flowers. I give up. I'm not even arguing. Whatever you want to do. Whatever you want.
And it's a terrible choice to make too, because it just eats away at that person. They lose their sense of self.
It ends up becoming enabling for that entitlement.
Yeah.
When people just give up and just give people whatever they want. Again, how many people do you know when they're a hard enabler that the people they enable have a very high level of appreciation?
Never seen it once.
It's definitely a very, very rare occurrence.
In fact, the people that are the entitled ones usually don't even think they're doing anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They have the opinion like this is how it's supposed to be. That's the entitlement. There's not even a connection that they're taking the other person's kindness for granted. It still astonishes me. I see it all the time.
Mm-hmm. Expected.
Yeah.
Christy, I'm in the freeze category. This one was one of yours, right?
Yes, it was.
All right. Tell me about the freeze one. What's the shutdown, freeze? And we can even get into the anxiety / panic / shutdown. Like this is all part of the I give up, I give up, I give up, I got nothing.
Everything was just it always felt like it got to like a drowning place of like for lack of a different, this is what's I'm seeing right now, like the toilet bowl, like just like swirling and just drowning and going down the tube. So it would just be stacking on steroids and just like system overload. And it would usually, for me, it would end up in a panic attack that I can only describe as like, it's like you're drowning and you just don't even know how to get yourself out of it.
Mm-hmm. It's like you're drowning and don't know how to swim.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like no one ever showed you how to swim, and now it's going down and you can't do anything about it.
No, and then everybody else around you can't do anything about it either. Like you can't even describe what you're feeling, and it doesn't make sense to anybody else around you.
Mm-hmm.
And like all of this, like you have all of that wherewithal in the moment and still can't do anything about it.
Yep. And it just reinforces the panic once you start doing that. It's even worse then, because now you not only do you have this sense of powerlessness, you also have an anxiety around knowing what you're supposed to do and not being able to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Double edge.
Knowing that like you're completely being irrational, but your body and mind has just like completely taken over you.
I feel like it's almost like one of those things where the body and mind are actually like fighting each other. Like you're having your own battle inside of your own skin.
Yeah. Yes. 100%.
Like your brain's like, I know we shouldn't be doing this. And the body's like, we're overloaded. Let's freak out. Shut it down.
Yeah.
Shut it down.
Yeah. So that's where like the shutdown comes from. You don't even know what to do because you feel like you're in this body that you just don't even have control over at the time. That was my perspective at the time when they were happening so frequently.
Mm-hmm. It's a tough one. And it'll just make you shut down, right? You're done.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
I also see people, let's do another version of shutdown. Anybody have, when they're in an argument, have you either seen or been the one that if someone starts screaming and yelling, you just stop?
Me.
As you've just
That's
done.
me. Yeah.
Done. Not even, I'm just going to make myself small and leave me alone.
Yeah.
All right. Help us out with that one, Christy. What did that one feel like? I don't know if you're, I don't know what
you're doing.
It feels
I'm doing all kinds of shit right now.
Yeah, you're like mid laundry or something.
all kinds of shit. It feels scary. It feels like that person has more power. And so even still, that's still kind of my go-to. If I can't stay neutral, my go-to is to turn into a deer. So if someone's screaming like that, like even sometimes when you do the impersonations of like a guy freaking out, I can feel like my body tighten a little bit, for sure.
Just helps me know I'm really good at impressions.
Yes, you're very good at, yes.
My impression of scary man is pretty accurate.
Check. You got that one good. So that's another, just for me, system shutdown. It's like my computer just like malfunctions.
Yeah.
I don't know how to communicate. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fear response. Now, you've been doing a little bit better on these ones. Do you still have panic attacks, and do you still like just completely shut down?
No, never.
Yeah, so
I haven't had a panic attack in like 7 years.
Yeah, got it under control.
Yeah.
Do you think that this anxiety and these fears, do you think it's beatable?
Yes.
Yeah. And we've fucking been beating.
I had a very if I went to any doctor and described my life when it was like at its worst, they 100% would have put me on medication. And there was a part of me that, even though I felt out of control, knew that was just personally, that was not the route I wanted to go, because I knew that really wasn't the root of the problem. Even though I didn't yet have the awareness to understand what it actually was, I just knew that wasn't what I wanted to do. So I went from very debilitating, like life altering type anxiety. And I'm not saying sometimes my mind doesn't jump ahead to the future and, think about 20 things of what ifs, but I know how to, eliminate or bring down some of those what ifs and get back into the present and figure out how to effectively, deal with my shit now without my mind going crazy.
Absolutely. I think it's awesome. Testament to your warrior nature too. There's so many people right now that we are training to show how to do exactly that thing. It's not to say it's not going to keep coming up. I think all of us have seen that. Yeah. It still shows up.
Sure. And I think the thing I've said to the women too is it's one of those things that's kind of accepted in society to a certain extent. I would think, I believe that a lot of people would say, oh yeah, I get anxious. Like maybe not to the level that I was experiencing, but I think at least in America, having anxieties kind of become more normalized of like, that's kind of a way of being. And so I think it gets downplayed a bit how detrimental it can just be in our day-to-day lives of dealing with stuff and moving through things that we get presented.
Well, if it's considered normalized,
at least, yeah, in my generation, I find that it's at least normalized and taken on as people's identity to be accepted by the in crowds. It's the in thing now.
Mm-hmm.
And that really generalizes and cuts down any debate you can have or help you can actually give to those people. Very destructive.
It's an ironic thing, Druss, the way you just said that, it's become normalized. Now let's go ahead and look into this, because remember, all of these mechanisms, all of these are centered around control. I don't have control. This is what happens when I don't have control. That's what a coping mechanism is what trauma response is how do I handle things when I don't have things handled? Here's an interesting observation with what you just said. Is it become normalized for me to say I identify as someone with anxiety? What then is the system of control you see people do when they have that identity? What do they try and dictate others need to be like. Anyone can take this one.
What do
Well,
they
it's
need to
woke
do?
culture.
Well, they try to control everybody else so that their emotional needs get met from other people.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
by
need-
lack of their
well-
control, they turn into the dictator kind of thing. Go ahead, Druss. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Let me break it down into 4 categories because I read this really interesting thing in a book. And I've said it to you, Phil. It laid out 4 different types of control: intimidator, interrogator, aloof, and what's the 4th one? And poor me,
Sometimes. Yeah,
which is
that's it.
poor me. Poor me is what a lot of people are falling into, which is victim mindset. And then aloof is like, well, I'm not getting attention, so I'm going to retreat so that you come and give me attention. And then intimidator is I'm going to get loud and nasty until you actually give me attention and you deal with the problem, not me deal with the problem. Interrogator is I'm going to ask questions until I find something wrong, and then I'm going to pick those pieces apart and destroy you. And that's how I'm going to get control. And I thought that was like a really good, actually just simple bang 4 categories for this is how people actually do interact and get control.
But interesting how much that was centered around getting attention. Like instead of not trying to control the situation, but more be seen and be, I don't know, get attention. Get attention is such an interesting addiction. And I can see these in a different way.
I've even noticed with the getting attention thing that it can happen when, say, one person starts to pull away and have like an independent life. That getting attention and jealousy from the person they're with can then manifest itself in these kind of things. Like whether it's them being aloof, or you deal with your problems, or poor me, we're not hanging out as much. Like if one person starts to level up in the area and the other person doesn't, it creates a weird power dynamic that gets solved and that's attempted to be solved with these ways. So these tools that Druss listed off.
I think I have a bigger issue with this poor me one. The other ones each have a toxic aspect to them, but the poor me one, because I identify as not capable, because I identify as helpless, because I identify as I have no ability to be able to take care of this, you all need to treat me a certain way. And it's almost like I'm going to use my inability to control all of you with judgment until you do what I say. It's a weird backwards kind of manipulation to control people. I'm going to control you because I don't have control. So you all need to be the way I want you to be because I don't have any way to be better. So you should all feel sorry for me and change how you behave.
So that's taking their insecurities and projecting it onto other people so they don't have to focus on themselves.
It may not be
By
because they don't
control?
identify as insecurity. Maybe sometimes it is, but I think it's just like I identify as a person who doesn't have control, and you're bad if you don't do what makes me feel okay. It's a judgment. I will judge you as bad if you don't do what I say.
Okay.
Poor me, poor me, poor me. Where would you put this one under? Poor me, because that's surrender? Is that negotiation? Is it denial? Is it fight? Is it flight? What is that?
Denial.
I think
No,
it's more.
anything?
Well, I think it's
Right,
denial,
sorry.
and you're going to go ahead. I think it's denial and a little bit of what was the one before denial that you said? Sorry.
We got negotiation, which is bargaining.
Negotiation.
We got denial, which is flight.
I think it's bargaining and denial because I think you're kind of like negotiating with yourself that you have to control other people because you're so weak or you're so not in control or you're not in control of yourself, so you have to try to control everybody else, something like that. I think that's where that part comes in, and then you're denying the fact that you're trying to control other people. I think that's where it comes in. It's like, I'm not trying to control anybody. They should just do this. It's like, well,
Hmm.
why though? They shouldn't have to do anything. You know, you should be able to, do it yourself, or something like that.
Make a
Really, it's like,
request versus a demand.
yeah, ask and then you shall receive. But
Well, in this case, it's demand or I shall judge.
Yeah.
right.
Druss, do you see this poor me one? What category would you put this under? Is this denial, bargaining, anger, or depression? In other words, negotiate, fight, flight, or freeze.
It's interesting
Mhm.
because I see pieces of denial, sure, but I don't know if it really fits any of them. It's something else, something separate. I can't really put it on it. There is pieces of denial where it's like, okay, so you're denying the fact that you need to work on yourself to get better, and you're passing off, you're projecting the need to do your own work onto other people. But I'm not sure if it actually fits a category.
Is it maybe more avoidance mixed in with it? With the denial?
Avoidance is denial.
I was just thinking like avoidance is their own problem. And so then
Well, this one's got a little Machiavellian twist to it. This is a control thing. So I could see where the negotiator would come in on this one with Ryan saying bargaining. If I'm not okay, you need to change to make me okay. For me, I'm not okay. I'm not safe. You need to do something to make it so I'm okay. It's a way to control people by making them, I guess, what is it? Adhering to a human's natural goodness is how I shall manipulate your behavior. You're a good person if you do what I tell you to, because I'm not capable of taking care of it myself. I need help.
I think the bargaining thing is tough because I think it's definitely there. Like that's what I see. I think it's when we see bargaining normally, it's the opposite of that. Like the person is doing something or saying something to almost like reap a happier benefit. Whereas this one here is like fucking, it's a negative benefit. Like you're literally making somebody else like change their ways to conform to your negative self-image or your negative emotions or whatever. So
Well,
it's really kind of like,
if I'm not okay and I have you change so I'm okay, is it really negative for me?
well, it's not negative for you, but I mean,
Oh yeah.
well, and that's the Machiavellian thing that they'll do anything at any cost to get the result, which the result is them not having, stuff. And they'll do push and pull and make the person do anything.
I'm
right?
not Machiavellian, Dr. Phil. I'm not doing that. I suffer. I suffer
Yes.
every day with something that is impossible to deal with. And you should change to
and
like
that's where the
really feel
denial
sorry
is.
for me. You really need to feel sorry for me. And if you don't, it's because you're a terrible person.
And that's where the shame guilt comes in, and they don't mind if they apply that.
Well, I am just going to get you. I'm going to have anybody feel bad. It doesn't matter because like you shouldn't pick on somebody who's disabled. And I'm disabled. The doctor told me so. You're actually disabled. but
And that's, yeah, I don't know. It's
Well, now you go, Ryan. You go. I can hold on
no,
to this one.
my thought got jumbled in the process of trying to have it come out.
No, you're all good. This goes back to the whole werewolf man thing. So in a delayed or an extended situation, it does end up hurting the person who's making the other person change. Because we go back to like, okay, I'm not okay, so you change for me. And then you change. You go, okay, yep, sure, I'll change for you. Cool. Bang, you change. And then eventually over time, it gets to the end of, let's say, a relationship, a friendship, and they go, oh, I just wish you were the person that you used to be. So, well, I changed for you just like you wanted. No, yeah, but I just want you to be the person that you used to be.
Yeah.
oh, well, I don't know how to be that fucking person anymore because I changed to try and cater to your victimhood.
Bro, I forgot all about that lesson. I remember it now. That was an awesome one.
It's a good lesson.
It's 100%
We should TikTok that
worth
actually.
us.
That's a
I
good,
haven't
that
seen
whole
it.
lesson would be a
Should.
good TikTok.
Doing
That's-
a refresh of that one or repost.
I mean,
No, I
that's
have
almost
it
like
somewhere.
enabling too, right? That's enabling their behavior.
Yeah,
So you're
it
changing-
definitely
you're
it falls into
conforming.
it. Do you guys want to see that lesson? I remember doing it for a couple of the guys. Do you guys want to see that
Yeah.
lesson?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so
So
this
good.
this one's actually this will be on the YouTube part because you guys wouldn't see it otherwise. All right, and if you're wondering why there's so much background noise for Druss, he's in Australia and he's fighting literally dingoes, kangaroos,
Spiders.
giant spiders.
Giant spiders.
Yeah, there's crocodiles. There's so much stuff happening all at once. And so if you're wondering why is it so loud, that's why. We hear it all the time, and that's why he doesn't do video because there's so much aggression in Australia fighting.
He's got this pointed spear. He's just stabbing things. He's pretty quiet for doing it, though.
It's definitely
I'm just protecting you guys from the fear of knowing that these things exist.
highly
Really, I'm
appreciated.
just helping you out.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
All right, let me do this lesson. Let's do this one. So, Christy, I don't think you've ever seen this one before, but we did. I did this funny lesson. All right, so I'm gonna start going through photos, and hopefully this helps. All right, so we got a couple here. They're struggling. The couple's struggling real hard, and she's like, you know what? I just wish you would change a little bit. She's like, well, what's wrong? She's like, I wish you would just lose weight. Let's see if I can get my camera. I wish you lose weight. I wish that you would get a little bit thinner. He's like, okay, shoot, I'll do that. Like, if you want me to lose weight, okay, babe, I'll do that. So he starts working out like crazy, and he starts losing weight, and he's dieting, and he's doing all this stuff. And like a year later, he's like, all right, babe, I lost all that weight. I'm skinny now. And she's like, ugh, you gotten so skinny. I just wish that you could get like more muscles. And he's like, okay. So he starts working out, and he's like, all right, babe, I got my muscles now. What do you think? And she's like, oh, but all this aggression you put into it, I just wish you were just a little bit nicer. I wish you were just, because so-and-so's husband, they get flowers and they're nicer, and you're so focused on yourself all the time. I just wish you would focus more on me. He's like, oh, okay. So he's like, here, babe, I'll start getting you flowers, and I'll do whatever you need then. I'll go ahead and start doing that. And then she's like, okay, well, now that you're doing flowers, like, you still kind of dress like a dork, though. And I just wish that you would look like real, like maybe I'm gonna dress up a little bit. And he's like, all right, babe. Yeah, check out my new suit. I'm looking pretty good, right? She's like, oh man, you're too happy. Oh, you're a lot. Can you just be like a lot more chill? He's like, oh, okay. I'll be more chill. In fact, I'll wear my suit and I won't say anything. I'll be super chill. And then she's like, oh my gosh, do you know what I think is so sexy? He's like, what? He's like, I think that like werewolves are so sexy. He's like, what? He's like, I wish you would be like, oh my God, like a sexy werewolf. He's like, okay. So he starts looking up lore and starts going through all of this stuff so he can go to Transylvania and find this lost clan of wolves. And he gets bitten by one and happens to survive and changes himself into a werewolf. And so now he comes back and he's like, hey, babe, I'm a werewolf now. And she's like, ooh, I like werewolves. Yeah, now we're doing good, right? And then she's like, oh, but wait, where's your suit? He's like, oh, I'll get my suit for you. He's like, all right, babe, got my werewolf suit. And she's like, ooh, you look mean and scary. I need you to look different. He's like, what do you mean? Like, get nicer again. He's like, okay, I'm a nice werewolf now in my little cane. Is that cool, babe? Is that good for you? And she's like, I don't like the cane. I need you to have like, I don't know, a little more swagger. Like swagger. Okay. Hey, babe, now I'm cool swagger werewolf guy in a suit. And she's like, oh my God, so douchey, so douchey. You need to really be like less douchey. Can you go back to being like, I don't know, be cool again or nicer? Okay. All right, babe. Now I'm a nice guy. Hi, hon. Cool guy in a suit, right? She's like, not that cool. You're losing your cool. I need you to be more cartoony. Like, okay, I'll be a cartoon werewolf in a suit who's super nice and looks kind of muscular and cool for you, right? And she's like, werewolves are kind of like just so outdated now. Like, I'm so past it. Could you just like, I don't know, go back to how like you were when we met? And he's like, I can't keep up with all of the changes you're trying to make me be. And no matter what he's doing to try to make it so he can do what it is that she thinks, he changed himself in all these different ways: lose weight, gain weight, get muscle, be nicer, get a new suit, dress different. Don't be too happy, be more stoic. Don't be so stoic, be more werewolf, but don't be mean werewolf, be nice werewolf, but kind of sexy werewolf, but not douchey werewolf, but be kind of like, not English guy werewolf, but like cool cartoon werewolf. And the guy's like, I have changed myself in every single way that you have said. And at the end of it, she's like, you know what? I just don't think I know you anymore. I just think that we've grown apart. And you've been spending so much time on yourself that I think we think we should see other people. This is a big part of the enabling aspect. This is a part of that compromise. This is a part of bargaining. How much of myself can I sacrifice? How much of myself do I have to give for peace? How much of myself do I have to give for your happiness? How much of myself do I have to give as a people pleaser to make it so we're okay? And no matter how much you give, it won't be enough. There'll always be another thing that they want. And if you try and change yourself with the weather patterns of somebody's wants and needs, you will go crazy. Because your authenticity is not even on the table anymore. In fact, you're living a completely false reality where, like, obviously it's silly to say, go be a werewolf. And this dude's like, fine, I'll fucking do it. I'll get bit by a werewolf just so you're happy. I'll change myself, even at the DNA level for you. Just to be like, I don't even know who you are anymore. That's a really funny lesson. I forgot all about that one, Druss. When it comes to don't change yourself so much.
While you guys were going through that, one thing that stuck out to me the most that I was wondering if you guys could shed some light on is why happiness becomes a problem if someone's too happy. I don't know the answer there, but I've seen it.
Makes the other person feel bad about themselves. That's what I think, at least, at a very simple level.
It's one way it goes. The enablement part, with the enabling part or the entitlement part, is a little more interesting too. People like that who keep wanting other people to change for them so that they can be happy are not happy, which means if you're relying on somebody else to be the one who gives you happiness, but you're not happy with yourself, it will always be an empty spot. It'll always be a void.
Thank you, guys.
And so that's probably both sides of the spectrum, like what Druss said and what I said are like both sides of the same thing. But if somebody's not happy inside themselves and they want you to make them happy, you can't, because their healing is their healing and you can't heal for them.
Right.
But if they can't find their own happiness inside of themselves, nobody will ever be good enough, and they'll always be looking for the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, until they're eventually tired of you trying so hard to give them the next thing that they'll think that they need a new person to be the next thing, and that will fix it. A lot of curses mixed in with that one too, by the way. Disney princess one. Christy and I have gone into depth on a lot of these Disney princesses, but the one where like I can always just get another prince, this instant gratification. It's not me, it's him. That's a real one. I don't have to do anything. I can just keep getting princes.
I think there's something to the grass is always greener.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely something within that as well.
Now that one goes on both sides.
Yeah.
Because both people, the grass will always be greener. And it's hard to tell too. Perception makes it tricky. This is a different one. Cope. There's a way to deal with things is always try to upgrade. It's tough though. Remember, the best lies are 95% true. All right. Christy, you're representing ladies in here today. All right, Christy. When should a woman settle?
Never. No, just kidding.
Women
Totally
should
kidding.
never settle.
Oh my God.
When should a woman settle? When should a woman settle for a man? And I think you're not wrong. It's probably in unison. There's like however many women listen to this, like, never settle. We should never have
They
to
all
settle.
said never.
Never.
That's why I said it.
Exactly. Never. When should a man settle?
Never.
Real talk, never.
How do we know? How do we know if the person we're with is a settling? And if it's somebody who, like, this is actually this is the best I can do. This is where I should be. This is a good fit. How do we know?
If the partner you're with is settling, or if you're settling.
Both.
Say if you're settling, because you're not pursuing the things you're into and you're compromising yourself for that. For whatever trade-off there is, whether it's the family of kids or if it's someone to be with. Like, say you're someone that likes to go on adventures across the world, and then you get with someone who isn't in that same sort of lifestyle. So you get together with them because you guys get along. But then when it comes to you trying to connect with yourself, you end up losing that part of yourself and settling giving up who you are to be with this person, which erodes and eats of that person again and again until there's huge giant problems because of it.
So you use the analogy of like travel the world, and now I don't travel the world for you.
Yeah.
Just as an example. Okay. In which case you go like, I'm a person who travels, but if I want to have roots or have a family, that means I have now settled. I've compromised who I am. Okay.
Exactly.
It's one way. It's one way to it. But now this is complicated. How do I measure? Ryan, how do you measure this? How do I measure if I'm settling, and how does she measure if she's settling? How do we know?
Well, I don't think you'll know that until I think all the built up resentment and all that stuff starts to show its face. Because I mean, you could settle with somebody and not go about your goals and passions and stuff like that. Eventually, like you said, Phil, that's going to volcano. And that's going to sit there and erupt pretty quickly, and you're going to start seeing like, well, you didn't let me pursue my happiness of doing X, Y, Z, and I think that's where it comes out to be like, oh well, I just settled with this, with you, because I thought that's all I could get, or the whatever was ticking or whatever it may be, and here I am. And then next thing you know, it's like, whoa, you look back, it's almost like midlife crisis time. It's like, yeah, I don't have a sports car, I don't have this, I don't have that, or whatever your ultimate goal was. I didn't see all 50 states before I was fucking 50 years old, or whatever it was. It's like, and you are the reason.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where it comes to be.
Okay, it's a good one. Anybody else see a thing? How do we know if we're settling? If a man should never settle and a woman should never settle, how do we know if we did or didn't? How do we even measure it?
Resentment.
Resentment is one way. I started noticing I feel angry towards you. I started feeling like I'm missing out because of you. And there's that FOMO aspect of it, fear of missing out. My type 7s know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of that there. And so if you start getting into that fear of missing out and I wonder if, how do we measure if this person is settling? I'm surprised.
I think a loss of identity, or at least like who you were before that relationship.
The results.
Yeah.
What do I have now that I'm with you, and how much of myself have I compromised or lost in the process?
But
right.
How do you find that? How do you come to the realization of that, though?
It's a good question.
Maybe
Which
a
is still the
lack of
same
support.
question.
Maybe a lack of support with things you want to pursue is an indicator.
But it's still, when does that come to head?
Mhm.
When is it to the point of like, fuck, I don't have what I want because of you, because I settled with you? When is that point? And I think that's going to be so subjective with each individual person. It's going to be like, oh, well, you know, after 5 years, I didn't get to do something that I wanted to do in 2 years. And now I look back on it and be like, oh, that's because of you. I think that's like, you kind of got to do an internal look of where you're at and what you're doing. And once you see it, you can, you know, once your awareness goes up, I should say, and once you can see like what your life is like, and you start looking around and be like, you know, you're writing stuff out of like, here's my goals. Like, how can I get to those goals? Why haven't I reached my goals? And if you deep dive enough, and you can look into yourself and be like, well, you know, like, well, maybe it was because of I put the ring on and now I have kids and now I can't do all the shit that I wanted to. I don't know. I mean, if that's what you think that your problem was, or I mean, I don't know.
And we still like, I'm with you too. It's hard to quantify when the actual boil over point is.
Right. And like after I said that, it's tough for me to even see that because like really, if I wanted to do something, why not just communicate it with the person that I'm with to be like, hey, let's go fucking do this.
Mhm.
So I mean, really, I mean, especially if you know you really love this person, you should be able to be like, hey, hun, like this was like one of my big bucket list things. I kind of wanted to do it before I hit, you know, age 50. That's a few years away. Can you help me start doing this? And I mean, obviously that's the healthy version, right? I mean, that's what we're all striving for, is to be like such an open relationship with communication enough and whatnot to be like, this is what I need or this is what I want. Can you help me achieve that? And you obviously do the same for them.
Now, if they can't do what you want, is that one of the measurement systems of like, I'm sacrificing because you can't do what I want?
I was leaning more towards the
Can't-
communication breakdown, like when
can't-
Ryan was talking about it.
Can't or won't, or doesn't want to. I think that's two different questions too. If I, you know, if I can't because we got fucking a baby and whatever, and I want to go hike, you know, the Himalayas or whatever, like,
yeah,
got it. Like, all right, well, you can't, and we got to pay the bills because you're stay-at-home mom. I got to go to work. Shit, I get it. That's a can't. But if it's a goal that you can obtain by working together and doing it, and they're just unwilling, then that's maybe that's the point where it's like, oh fuck, we're on two different wavelengths, and she does not want to help me, or he does not want to help her, whatever it may be.
It's definitely.
So I'm listening to everything you guys are saying. And I'm going to break it down into a couple of pieces. So I think to start off with, we need awareness and accountability and knowing yourself. Once you have these pillars and you have the ability also to remove the rose-colored glasses, because that's going to destroy a lot of these conversations, it links into what Dominic said. Where are you sacrificing your needs, wants, goals, values? And then if you can take a look at that and be like, hey, I'm starting to actually sacrifice pieces of myself, and this person is asking me to change in a way that is changing my identity to the core, and not because of something bad that I've done, but because of their issues, that's when the resentment starts to build up. That's when the breakdown starts to happen. That's what I'm seeing. The hard thing is you need to, one, know yourself first, which a lot of people don't. You need to be able to take a hard look at yourself and be, hey, actually, no, that thing is a part of me and it's not actually affecting you in a negative way. And then you also need to have the awareness to see all those things yourself, which those three pillars, they're hard pillars to build. That's how everything gets all jumbled up. Because when we don't have those pillars, when we don't know ourselves, we don't have the awareness, we can't take accountability. We're like, okay, I'll change for you. Or we'll look at negative toxic behaviors, and we'll be like, no, that's okay. That's normal. What are you talking about? I don't need to change that. So I think that's like the origination of the resentment and the breakdown.
I love this. You guys are great. Christy, you want to take a crack at it before I jump in?
I think Druss just dropped a big mic for me. So
Nice.
I'm going to let that be golds right now.
I like it. Good job, Druss. Way to go. Good job, Brian, too. These were good. I actually see a combination curse here, and it goes into a lot of trauma responses. Not only that, but also this attention thing. And it goes into, I see a combination of denial, fear, bargaining. Like I see all the pieces that are going here. This grass is greener or disposable princess. Like I see this is like a pretty interesting one. What's the denial piece? I'm better. I'm better than you. I said so. I'm worth more. Don't actually measure this, by the way. I just told you I am. And that's how you know. The fear part is I'm wasting time with somebody. I can do better. I can do better than this. I'm wasting my time here and I don't have a lot of time. So I better hurry up and find the better one. I need to go out and hunt again. And that's where that bargaining aspect of, well, if I'm with you, then I'm missing out on what I can do better. I know that, like, I'll be okay and I'll do better if I can do that. Now, I like the idea of like the pillars. You said know thyself, accountability, being able to get into what is your worth. Now, this is the interesting part is people don't actually want to measure this, by the way. This is all subjective. Like, who's out of their league? Like anybody been like, oh man, they're out of my league, or I'm out of her league, or she's out of my league. You know what I'm talking about? Like, this is a subjective opinion.
I used to do that all the time, man. I used to be looking at girls that would be like, oh, she's out of my league just because of aesthetic, but not worry about the personality or the real person behind it. I would shoot myself in the foot because of my lack of self-worth. Really would. Now I get in relationships that were toxic and damaging because I was in the I can fix them, you know, maze. And I'm definitely over that now. I realize that you got to have someone who knows themselves before you can even start off from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But your worth was, in your opinion, low. They're out of my league. Now, what happens when you're in a relationship where you start feeling like, wait a second, I think my worth is more than yours, and now I'm settling if I stay with you. This is especially tough if you guys are married and there's a commitment. It's very tough. Or if there's kids involved. I think I'm out of your league. I'm better. Well, when should a woman settle? Never. And when should a man settle? Never. So how do we know when we're settling? Based on our worth? How much I've sacrificed? You know, we said how much values, how many goals, how many needs have I given up for you? How much did I change myself? If something happens and they have a limitation and their limitations now equate to my limitations because they can't and now I can't and so we can't, and that makes me feel resentful. Oh, well, that starts to add up. And how many days, as soon as you have a belief system that I'm better than the person I'm with, does it start to volcano?
It's almost like a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, the grass is greener. It's a multiple leveled curse. When will you ever feel like you have like, this is it? Is it something the other person has to do, or is it something inside of us?
Wouldn't it be appreciation from inside you that you'd have to have for your situation and having contentment in it? Like being happy with what you have and appreciating? Or am I off?
If you get content, are you settling?
I think it's all subjective to each individual's person. Like I chose to ask my wife to marry me when I did because I felt like I was in love with her and I wanted to be with her forever. But if somebody else was in my shoes with the same woman, they might not have. They might have, said, hey, this isn't working out. For lack of better words, settled, and then moved on to try to find something that fit their needs, wants, happiness, and all that stuff. I don't think I can't see it being a one size fits all thing here. I think it's, like Rick, you fell for Andrea the way that you did, and you guys, have your level of, okay, well, this is it. This is our forever. Dom, same, like you did that with Randy. Like it is what it is. I mean, my point of I'm good here is not the same as you guys.
Well, do you guys feel
Everybody
like
has
you
their
guys, do you feel like you guys, like we stopped looking? Like, does that mean we settled?
I don't think it was like we stopped looking. We were just, we stopped looking obviously because we got married. So I mean,
I'm not trying to put you in Katie doesn't listen to this shit anyways. You're good.
She does.
I'm just kidding. You're like, I'm going to be so fucked. Shh, stop.
I have to
Druss,
stop
take
right
this
now.
one.
No,
Druss,
Anybody
take this
take
one.
it.
All right.
We definitely
well, I can jump in. Like I'll take it off you. Don't worry. Like,
Save Ryan.
Look,
I'm not worried. I'm not
for
scared.
men, no, but for women, yes. Boom, mic drop. All right.
Yeah.
You're good, Ryan.
Boom.
Don't finish the thought.
No, like I said, I think it depends on each individual person. Even for men and women, I think it's subjective too. When you feel it's right to be like that's it. You're my only one.
Would
That could be
settling be
a
when
month.
indifference kicks in?
No.
When you stop caring? No? Okay.
No.
I think it's the opposite of that. It's when you feel that full love in your mind, body, and soul for that person. It's like you're the only one for me. Like, okay, then you decide to make your vows or your agreements or whatever from there, and you stick it out.
I'm going to throw my actual 2 cents in here. I think I want to give testament and credit to all of you guys for trying to figure out how to make this work. The answer to the question is, when should a woman settle and when should a man settle? And everyone's like, never. The problem itself is in the question and the answer. Even asking and even acknowledging that I think that we should never be settling. It's like, well, what does that even mean? This would mean that you should never commit to anybody because if something better comes along, I should always be looking for something else. Well, how can you guys have a committed relationship if the mindset is I should always be looking for another person? Yeah, Druss. You said Rick Yee with the trick questions every week. This isn't even my trick question. This is a societal belief system. There are people. This is why I said if I asked that question, the initial answer would be never. But like it is a trick. It's a trap. It's a trap to destroy relationships because it's not about settling. It's about being able to make it work with someone who's worth making it work with. Is this person got the willingness to do the work? Are you guys going to work together to grow instead of always be looking for somebody else? Always be trying to get the upgrade, always trying to find you the next werewolf? It is a trick. If I should never be settling, when can we actually have trust? If I'm always looking for something else. And especially when the measurement system of worth versus what's better, what's not better in my league, out of my league, it's all subjective. It's always just on different points. One person can be far smarter. Another person would be more attractive. Another person will be more talented. Another person will be more fun. And we start measuring it all these different subjective terminologies. How do we know when we're settling? The entire infrastructure of the question and answer is designed to destroy relationships. I think it's a trick. It's a trap. How can you be committed to somebody who is always looking to be with somebody else?
The question itself sows seeds of doubt then.
Correct. It's a combination curse. Grass is always greener.
So anytime that's even brought up, it's instant sabotage.
It seems like it. This is why belief systems are so tricky. If you believe like maybe the grass, and sometimes the grass actually is greener, in which case are you like the bad one? If you're like, well, sorry, I should never be settling. I have to go upgrade. How fucked is
Exactly.
that? Like,
Right,
as far
because
as
then that'll never end. It just keeps going. There's no happiness.
when can you actually invest your heart into somebody?
I think that's a gray area for sure. Because if you go into a relationship and you're both on, let's say you're both on the same page, everything's happy-go-lucky. Someone changes the whole fucking book. Then what do? You're on this book, they're on that book. And they're like, oh, I like this book better. And you're like, well, I like this book better. Well, then you both got to go to, trade your book in at the library and get something else. Because you're
Ryan,
not,
that's an excellent point.
Nothing's going to be right for either of you. You're not happy.
How do we combine our stories to make a better book?
Or what happens if you're in a relationship for a while and then someone's been hiding something and then it comes out? Because then the book you had and you thought you were reading isn't the book that was actually there at all.
Well, it depends on what chapter do you want to write. Is it grace or punishment?
How
do you handle their past? That's an interesting one. It's a judgment itself. How do you handle your partner's past? I like your pillars, Druss. Know thyself. Have awareness. Be accountable. Dominic, he said drink about it.
I'll smoke about it.
I like that. Like, know yourself, because then you can have healthy boundaries and know where your limits are for like, hey, now we're going the wrong direction here. Having an awareness and then being accountable of both of your parts so you guys can actually make agreements to grow, or at least have grace for whatever it is. But I think it's a good question you did, Phil. Let's say you're doing okay in your categories. You know yourself, you take accountability, and you are aware of the situation and needs to have a conversation, and they bring up something from their past. I don't know what it is. Something that you're like, that's bad. Something that's past. And maybe even they learned their lesson from it and they would never do it again. But they were ashamed or embarrassed to share it with you. How do you handle your partner's past? This goes back into this trauma responses. This goes back into like, how are you going to deal with it when something that you don't like comes up? It doesn't matter what it is. Like, you can make up some horrible things. They hurt somebody really bad, or they cheated on people in their past, or, they were a non-reputable person at some point, something they were like, I'm really embarrassed about it.
Like something that I doesn't wreck with your moral code or something like that, for example.
Sure. It goes against your own moral code, but they don't do it anymore. It's just something they used to do or something they've done before.
Look, the piece that you added on the end is the important piece, because it's like, well, if you shit test them out and you go, okay, what have you learned? And, do you still do this? Is this still who you are, et cetera, et cetera? You're not going to ask them so up front, but you test it out. And if they can't answer those questions, you go, oh shit, this person still has pieces of the person that did that. Now that is like, that's a pain point. That's like, oh, that's one check mark. Maybe you're not the one. But if they can answer those questions.
Yeah, can they grow by it? Like, I mean, we've all done fucking stupid shit in our life. I mean, I don't know one person that hasn't done something stupid in their life that somebody else would be like, ooh.
No, just
cool.
Exactly. But
Ben
right.
Pearson,
So
that's it.
if you're able to grow and learn from it, and like you said, like, they're not going to do it again. Like, I mean, I can shit test somebody all day long and I'm going to find shit. If you look hard enough, you're going to find it. I was like, where's your part?
Like,
I think Dom said it right, is like the acceptance part. Like, can you accept
blind
the fact
acceptance to
that
me,
they
though.
did it?
Again, can hear you.
That's blind acceptance to me, though. So, like, Ryan, like, if we were in a relationship, like, we had a nice little house, we had some kids, like, we got the gay mansion down in Costa Rica. You and me are bros, man. And I got Phil at least. And you're like, look, I've really hurt some people in the past. And you tell me, like, I used to really hurt people. I'd get into bar fights all the time. And I ask you, like, so what was the moment that you realized that hurting people wasn't okay and that you were hurting the people around you? What would your answer be?
I was the one hurting people, and I said, when did I realize that it wasn't good anymore? Oh.
Yeah.
I would probably say when I found myself to be all alone because I pushed everybody away.
And what are the things that you've changed since then?
I would say that I've learned how to control my anger, and I don't need to. I don't go looking for fights anymore.
Let's make it a little
try to
more
be more of-
personal, Druss. How about this one? This is one where the ladies will appreciate it right away. One of them was a serial cheater. You find out the person that you're invested in and you've got a couple of years with, and you know things are going well. You got the game in Costa Rica. You guys are doing well, and you found out they've cheated on every single person they've ever been with, but they're done with that life.
Real talk, I'd run.
Run away. We got a flight mechanism kicked in. Trauma response.
What about
Because
just
how could
setting a boundary though, and being like, if you do that to me, I'm gone. Once you find out that they do it to you, you're gone. That's it. I mean, if they've been treating you well for the entire time up until, you know, even till the time that you found out about this.
And that's the conflict
you know,
I would have there. Exactly.
But if you know that they haven't cheated, if you know that they haven't cheated on you from you know, start to finish of the relationship, you know that. And then if you find out that they do, then your boundary that's a non-negotiable. Bye. See you later. That's it.
But finding out that information in that moment, wouldn't it plant a whole bunch of doubt on everything that you've done before because it changed your entire perspective?
Not if you
even
know
though they're
yourself
opening up,
you know the other person.
Even if you know, well, that's what I'm saying. You're not knowing the person. Like you could know yourself there, and you're with a person like that, but you find that out. Then you have a thing where they're being open and sharing with you, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then that reality, then you have to make like a call that you can either go forward and work with them, or I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, what does it change in the present time?
I'd
What does it change in the present time?
Man.
It's up to your faith, and I don't know. It shakes your faith.
It doesn't change you much other than putting the doubt in the mind that, oh shit, they might cheat on me. But my question still goes back to like, why'd you feel the need to cheat before? What void were you trying to fill? And then it depends on how they answer.
Maybe they found that void with you.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, how do we work together to stop that from happening? And it depends on how they answer. Like if they're genuine and they hold themselves accountable and they have done the work and that shows through in what they say, that can be forgiven. That can be accepted. But if they can't answer those questions, if they can't go into that and they don't know, then chances are that that's going to end up repeating. That cycle is going to repeat because I haven't broken the cycle. Which is where there's blind acceptance and then there's the shit testing. And like, you got to shit test the people out. Have you actually changed the thing that you did before? Or are you looking for sympathy and to get this weight off your chest with me?
Yeah, I think even let's just assume healthy behavior. Let's assume it's healthy. And this is where it gets unhealthy, where we assume that person who's sharing with us is the bad person. But how often have you seen somebody who like, you know what, I'm going to trust you and I'm going to share with you. And that person now creates an authority over. Now I feel like I'm the good one. And I'm going to tell you the ground rules because you used to do bad things. And so now I feel like I can tell you what to do. I've seen this. We've had a few guys who are like, I told them my past, and now they start saying, you better do this. You have to do this. You can't do this. I'm watching you here. You're doing that. And they're like, I'm not that thing anymore. Like, I'm still going to treat you like you were because now I know.
Yeah, even though it wasn't done to them or, you know, they never saw that side of you. You just told them that.
Then you were vulnerable and open. And
your
then it gets
vulnerability is going to be shut the fuck down is what's going to happen. Like, oh, yeah. I got this when I was vulnerable with you. Now I'm treated like this. Well, it looks like I ain't doing that shit no more.
You see the irony there where somebody starts saying like, because you're being open, vulnerable, and trustworthy of me, and I don't know how to handle that, I'm going to now feel like the authority to punish, to condemn, to start telling you what you can and can't do, start setting rules around here, not healthy boundaries. Like, well, if that happens, we can't be together. You know that, right? Like, yeah, I know. And this is why I never do that again. Like, that's a healthy conversation. Oh, well, I just believe once a cheater, always a cheater. And you're like, no, that's actually not true. I really was not in a healthy place and I had to work a lot on myself to be better. I wouldn't do that now. Yes, it now remains to be seen. And now because you were open and showed trust and vulnerability and openness, now the other person is all over on their mechanisms here for making sure that they're now on you like a hawk to protect myself. Are you okay? Are you okay? You good? Are you okay? Checking in on you. What are you doing? Who are you talking to? Who's that girl at work?
Yeah.
Who's that?
The
What's that about?
paranoia.
Like,
Yeah.
it's the same people it's been for almost 2 years.
Now we've circled back around to the start of the conversation. Control dramas. What control dramas are we playing? How are you trying to control me? And how is it trying to make me feel okay for the things that I haven't worked on?
You guys brought up a great point by bringing this up. It was something I didn't realize was a weakness of my own then, because if they're opening up and being real with you and sharing something like that, and then you can't handle it, that's more of an internal thing. Like, I can't handle it. You have to figure out why, like, I couldn't handle it.
Oh, no.
Versus-
The tricky part about the I can't handle it is not I can't handle it. It's now I'm the good one.
Right.
Which is technically still denial. You're not wrong. It's still in the same category of, no, I can't deal with it. But instead of saying I can't deal with this, I'll say I'm the good one. And now you have to do what I say, which now goes back to, I need
It's
to
like amping
use
it
this.
up.
Yeah, that probably goes into the interrogator thing that Druss is talking about. Oh, now I found something wrong. Now we're going to get to the bottom of this.
And there's the leverage point for abuse.
If you're unhealthy, yeah.
Yeah.
Now we need ground rules because now I have authority. But it's a denial. It's a denial too of love, you guys. These trauma responses are all trying to control things, trying to force love. It's ironic that we're trying to like control this thing like that, which I think that if any of us truly have love, like it's not a control thing. I think it's almost the opposite. This is why you fall in love. It's a surrender. It's a fall into, not a I climb in love, or I build in love, or I fly in love. No, we fall. You have to let go. You surrender to this thing. I'm in. I'm yours. You're mine. Better or worse, I'm all in. I think it's different. Well, now this gets tricky too. This goes into another aspect. I would put that one into like, I'm the good one. I think denial is just, it's the core to almost all of these. I'm the good one, so I can now be the authority. This is a combination of denial and fight. Now I can control you. I'm going to tell you how you should be. Interesting. What about this no romance thing? Remember, like this morning, we had one of the guys struggling to be able to say, like, well, if I show vulnerability now, if I show love, if I show romance, maybe I'm being a simp. I'm being a wuss. I'm being considered too weak. And maybe I won't be able to get the love that I'm looking for because I'm afraid to tell her how grateful I am for her, or I appreciate her so much, or, show like a high level of appreciation or reassurance. And it makes me look like I'm weak. What about that one, guys?
I think a lot of the common things that I'm seeing with this stuff is really just take a look at Druss's pillars. Know thyself. Are you weak? No. If I say this, does it make me weak? No. Because I am a strong, healthy man. I can, you know what I mean? That's what it comes down to, is like, if you know thyself, then you'll have the confidence of, for whatever, and be able to kind of throw it out there, because it's not going to hurt me, because I know myself.
And with the awareness too, for this morning's example, knowing the fact that was an area that he wouldn't be strong in is part of the process, as long as has a willingness to work on it and do the reps with it. I think. Yes.
See, now we get into the opposite side of this system though, where it's, okay, I know myself, I'm accountable, I'm a good person, and you fall back into that change. you're like, okay, this person, I did some bad things. I have guilt. I have shame about it still. And so now I'm going to correct my system. I'm going to change to make you feel okay. And now I've just looped the conversation again.
Well, how did you change though? How did you change? Because you're showing affection in a healthy way to the woman that you like, and you is now you know her love language, so that's not changing for anything. That's just showing her her love the way that she accepts it, just like you would want that
Okay.
done for you, right?
But like, let's say I'm a serial cheater. I know I've done bad things in the past, so I'm going to have some shame and guilt built up around the bad things that I've done in the past. Now I'm with someone and I really love this person, and they're saying, I don't feel okay because you've done this thing in the past. They're like, well, I need to know where you are at all times. You need to have your snap maps on. You need to be able to track you. And then they're like, well, who's that girl at work? And you're like explaining everything, and it's still not enough for them. And then they go on, okay, I still don't feel okay. And you're like, well, I need to change more. I need to do more to help you. Now all of a sudden you're a fucking werewolf again.
Yeah.
I see that. I see that part of it there, but I was linking it back to the other part of like just doing a simple act of kindness for that person that isn't necessarily changing yourself. But I see where you're coming from there. Is like, but I mean,
Where's the difference where it comes from changing yourself to leveling up and improving yourself?
This is, I think, the awareness pillar that we're dancing around, because we had awareness, accountability, and know thyself. The awareness part, it looks like on this one, is going to be where you can go, am I sacrificing for their insecurities? Like, I'm just going to tell you right now, my boundary, I have a hard boundary on not changing myself for another person's insecurity. Now, some people will be like, oh, that's wrong. Judge away. Feel free. Judge away. If you change for somebody's insecurities, you go back into the enabling. They don't have to work on any of their own things because you'll change to make it so they're okay. But then they're going to measure all of their happiness based on how much you're able to change. Well, they've never healed. And so no matter how much you change, they're still unhealed. That's enabling. You're going to only be changing yourself. And I've done this enough times. I think some of it, we've done this. I've done this. I'll sacrifice more and more of myself because you have an issue with being cheated on or being abused or being hurt or somebody did something mean to you. And I'll make sure I reassure you by changing myself to fit whatever you said you need. And after a while, I completely lost who I was. I had no idea who I was. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I am anymore. I'm a werewolf cartoon in a suit trying to be cool, but I am so unhappy. And I am not following any dreams. In fact, I put all of those in a closet in a box somewhere. I don't even remember where I packed those dreams away. I've been so busy trying to change myself for the shit you won't work on.
Y'all are giving me PTSD in my last relationship right now.
well, right. So isn't that the answer then? So I mean, let's just say that person that used to be cheater healed, evolved, and grew from there. They learned from all that shit, right? And they know their authentic self and whatnot. Well, that person that's trying to control them with their shit, they need to look internally at them and be like, why does that bother me so much about their past? Not about the present, what's happening now. So that's just trained and untrained at that point. So that person in turn has to grow and evolve and know thyself and have their awareness up and be accountable for their shit. So it's the same thing.
Seems like a correct answer.
Yeah.
What do you see, Dom? You've been quiet today. Listen, you've always got stuff you see. What do you see today?
Come on, Spock. Let us know.
I've mostly been typing because I got sick. My voice is all fucked up. But no, I think this falls down to accountability of your choices. I think if you are untrained, you are putting yourself in a position where you're, like you talked about, enabling, creating a situation where it's not a healthy dynamic. I think if you're putting the pressure on the other person to make choices or to grow, that falls back on you having expectations. I think it's open communication, establishing your healthy boundaries. I think it's knowing exactly what you want in the relationship. And the example of the chronic cheater, if they act like they are going to have to stalk you hard boundary. Sorry, this isn't a relationship that I want to be a part of. That's my past, and I want to leave it there. And I'm not going to spend the rest of my life changing and proving to you, which could be the rest of my life, literally. And for what? Now I'm going to find someone that'll accept me for who I am now. But thank you. This was a good conversation. And then just walking away from it, making the right choice for yourself. I think that's what this boils down to.
I like it. Also, you sound like the sidekick for Les Claypool with your voice like that.
And that raspiness to it now.
Yeah, you remember on South Park, the little guy with the circle glasses? He had like that sound, man. That was pretty good. I like it. Tom's like, I'm only typing from now on, you bastards.
I'm done.
That's why he said. That's what he said. That's why I'm typing all caps. All right. What's the hard question, Druss? He said, why is it that healthy communication is so close to control communication?
And you see this all the time on like TikTok, on YouTube. People will bring up a topic and they'll be like, well, this is healthy communication. Here's an example, blah, blah, blah. Or like, if you use therapy speak in a relationship and X and Y, this is what happens. And then people in the comments, you'll read through like the top 5 and they're completely just missing the point.
Mm-hmm.
And then healthy communication, they'll disguise it or they'll take it as they're trying to control me with X and Y. And it seems like when we have these conversations, like proper healthy communication is so closely adjacent to the communication people use to control. How do we pick those two apart?
This is an interesting answer that I had initially. Anybody want to take it first?
Yeah, I mean,
By empathizing.
I mean,
someone
really-
else's- Sorry, Ryan. Go. Sorry.
you're good, bud. Like, yeah, Dom, I agree with that. Like, first, like, I like that, the accountability, but in that conversation, there has to be the no blame, no shame, no judgment, and then be able to, like you said, if you do have, hold on a second, I gotta, that's my connection crazy.
Play a game.
I'll jump in with you. What do you see, Dr. Phil?
Oh, the difference between when it goes from good communication to controlling. I think it comes in when you can either empathize with the other person versus only looking at your perspective. If you can hop into their shoes and see things from that angle, that can stop you from doing the controlling side of it.
You said
But if you don't-
empathy. Empathy is the thing
Yes.
that's missing. So one person, if they don't have empathy, they're controlling. But if they have empathy, it's healthy.
If they work it properly, I'd imagine, because then you would identify with the other person and you would be able to wreck against yourself. Okay, is this really benefiting both of us, or is this just me being controlling?
All right, I like it. Dom says accountability. Anybody else have a different thing? Why is it healthy communication is so close to controlled communication?
This is how I thought about it. And let's remove the piece where you dive into work like we do. Because when you dive into work like we do and you understand and have the awareness on a lot of things, then it's a lot easier to pick it apart. But without that, that's what we got to focus on. So let's remove that piece. And the only thing that I can come to is intention. But you can't really measure someone's intention. So it's like if you are someone who isn't constantly obsessed with understanding the things that we understand, I'm not sure. Because like for us with our awareness, we can be like, oh, you've said that thing. That links back to this thing. I know this thing about your childhood. This is a coping mechanism. But for 90% of people, that's not a skill they have.
Most do not. I like that. And I think I did some writing on that yesterday that goes into probably one of the deepest curses, but I'll get to that one later, probably a different day. On this one, here's the word that came up with for me. It was intention. The difference between a healthy communication and controlling communication is the intent behind it. What is the reason that you're doing what you're doing? What's the reason for the communication? And for me, it came down to an intention. This is why when Andrea and I have that video of like, well, state your intention with what it is. Well, the reason I'm asking is because I want us to be able to grow, and what you have to say is important to me. Can you please tell me the answer? My intention is I really want to understand. He said, how do you measure another's intent? This is simply, well, all of these things. How do you measure somebody's empathy? Is it by well-being? Is it by emotions? How do you measure emotions? I think the weirdest thing about all of this conversation between, like, I guess, like the reaction, the respond, the healthy, the controlling, I think it just goes off into like, how do you guys actually feel with each other about how this is happening? And I think if you start getting that, like, this feels gross. This feels bad. I think we've all got that intuition, that instinct. Something's wrong. Something's off about this. But I think stating your intention is definitely at least one measurable. This would also reveal empathy. It would also reveal accountability. That's one take on it. I see you got a couple of questions. You got a question on it, Druss?
No, that was my question. Like, how do you measure someone's intent? Because I came back to intent as well, but then, yeah, maybe this is me acting from my hurts at this point. But I've had people that are like, tell you that their intent is good. This is my intent, but then they'll muddle your words. They'll twist them. They'll use it to control, all while having the veil of good intent. I'm doing this for your good. I'm doing this for our good, for the relationship's good.
Mm-hmm.
And these people are very good at twisting words.
So then what would your gut say if I said, like, I'm punching you because this is what love is?
I love you.
Oh, well, your gut says fucking alarm signals, run.
Mm-hmm.
But then your rose-colored glasses kick in. And this is where I put the part about the rose-colored glasses. Like, do you have the ability to take down the rose-colored glasses? Go, no, it's okay. It's okay. Everything's fine.
But that would be a low awareness.
It's fine.
Well, that's low awareness, goes back into suppression and denial again, and it denies the know thyself worthiness apart, which means like you've handed over accountability for whether it's good or bad to somebody else, whether it works or doesn't work. You've blocked your awareness of being able to see what it is, and because you don't know your own boundary standards or what measurements for, like, this is what my worthiness is, you'll accept anything, because if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. And I think measuring intent versus behavior makes perfect sense to me. But you can see how easy it is for people to not do that. I'm not measuring intention. I'm not measuring behavior. I'm not measuring authenticity and openness. I'm not measuring those things. I'm only measuring the trauma or the pain responses from my past. And that's it. And if you don't change for me, then I will judge you as bad. Not with the intentions, not with accountability, not with worthiness, but because I think I'm good, you're bad, and I should never settle. So maybe I should be looking for someone else.
But then
I've come a very, very good full circle with this one, I think.
Trauma responses are such a trick. Just so you can understand, this is anybody listening to this is a fun way that all of us like to break down, like, what are the behaviors, what are the words, what are the things that we do? And we're looking at just, well, what is that? How does that work? Maybe this, maybe that. Let's test, let's challenge, let's look at it. Let's open it up and see how this car works. Let's see what are the pieces in here. This is a fun way to start looking at problems that we're doing. But at the end of it all, each one of these different trauma responses, fight, flight, the fear, the shutdown, the always trying to replace or swipe right, the are you okay? Am I okay? Over explaining, hiding, suppressing, attacking, freezing, like panic attacks, overload, no romance, no respect, no accountability, all these different things that we just went through. Each one of these is revealing that there's a part inside of you that you need to heal. And most people don't understand how to go through the grieving cycle. They don't understand, and they've never upgraded their coping mechanisms. They're not aware of the enemies within, with fear and doubt, excuses, justifications, distractions. the forms of addiction that we go into, which we didn't even cover on this one, which is under denial. Still, addiction starts into denial. And this is the pieces that when we're doing our real work, we break down these things together with our coaches. But we really like to help you guys be able to see that each one of these is a beatable curse. If we get into the reason for the reason, we can start to remove the belief systems that operate underneath these coping mechanisms, these trauma responses. Sometimes it's more reassurance, but a lot of times it's a lot of self-healing, but people aren't taught how to do that. They're given ideas, but not step-by-steps. And this is why you're seeing a lot of the people in here having conversations on how to break down how these work. But if you also notice a commonality, you'll see a lot of, well, this is definitely something I've done. This is something I've been through. This is something I used to do a lot of. And because of that, this is why we're able to have the conversation of, well, how did we get through that? Or, well, I've seen that before. I haven't had that one. Have you? I have. And this is how I got through that. I think there's a lot of value of people being able to have the courage to say that one was one of mine, but I beat it because I got into that trauma response. I got in there. I took that as an awareness that I need to do more work to know myself and up my worthiness. In which case, real talk, I don't think it's one of those things. Do you feel like you settled or not settled? Do you love this person and are they trying every day to grow with you? And are you trying every day to grow with them? And are they willing to? And are you willing to? Then you found yourself a keeper and you guys can do something beautiful. Looks fade. When we get older, we start losing our minds. Everything is temporary. Find somebody who will do the work with you and that you guys can just really love each other for being able to evolve and grow. It's not about settling. It's not about my trauma response. It's not about my insecurities. It's about, I have to heal through my things. You have to heal through your things, and let's grow together. Because ultimately, at the end of all your dynamics, the end result should be it's better together than not. And if I was to say, how will you measure if you're settling or not? Is it better if you're together than if you're not? That's a pretty good starter point. Otherwise, thank you, warriors. It's always good to hang out with you guys. Let's have Druss finish us out. Druss, give us some closing statements.
Wait, that was a great closer. Reckon me to destroy the closer because I have one more question.
Nope, it's all on you.
And this is the hardest question yet, right? When we're in a relationship and we've leveled up our awareness to the point where we can see some of these things and we're like, this isn't working with this person because I'm taking the accountability, I'm doing these things, and it doesn't seem like they are. It doesn't seem like they're fixing their voids. What now?
You know, when do you
What
pull
now?
the ripcord and when do you try to get to say, have them grow with that? Like, if the willingness isn't there or if it is there is a real question, I think, in that situation.
Here's the fun thing about life, guys. This is where you get confidence built up. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it's the right choice to leave. Maybe it's not. Has anybody here ever broken up with somebody on the assumption that you knew how it was going to go just to find out that that was not the kind of person who would have done that? Anybody ever do that? Because I sure as fuck have. I sure have. I looked at the writing on the wall and I said, statistically, this relationship, she's going away to college. This is going to do this. This is going to end up happening. I'd get cheated on anyways. I know how this is going to go. Just to find out that's not the kind of girl who would ever do that shit. She never would have done it. It would have been solid the whole time. She's never been that person and never would be. You were wrong. This person's just trying to do this and this, and I'm making an assumption, and I'm trying to, they're not doing the work, and they're blah, blah, blah. They're just gonna. So I have to protect myself. I'm ending it. I'm calling it before it happens. I've done this multiple times. So-and-so had a rumor about the person that you're seeing, and you don't want to deal with that bullshit, so you're out without even having the conversation on whether it was true or not. I've done that dumb shit too. It wasn't true. I didn't know. I didn't want to deal with it. I avoided it. Run away. Retreat. I'm out of here. Fuck that. Swipe right. Grass is greener. That's not good. Yeah. So how do you know?
Protection.
You don't know. Later on, you just find out that was either a good idea or you just fucked up again.
And that's where the trust comes in.
Well, that was a me thing.
Yeah.
That was a me problem on those people. That was a me problem.
Right.
I didn't have the maturity to just have a damn conversation about something. I made assumptions based on my fears. I made assumptions based on bad behaviors that I've seen that didn't apply to the people that I was making those assumptions about. I was wrong on multiple occasions. I can name a handful of people I was very wrong.
Seems
So
like the Zoomers got this one right, then. That's a you problem.
It's a me
Sure,
problem.
you've heard your daughters say that. That's a you problem.
Oh, you'd like to think that, wouldn't you, Druss? Yeah, listen, I have teenage daughters, man. All parents are idiots. That's the answer. All parents are idiots to teenagers. It doesn't matter how established, how correct you are. It doesn't matter how often your percentages of accuracy for measuring human behavior is, even though I have an astonishingly good rating for human behavior.
You probably have it charted, don't you? On this
I haven't been wrong with any of these things yet nobody can connect that seems to be the answer. So I have, in this case, I would say I have gone into an acceptance, not a surrender where I just go, fuck it, whatever, but just like, it's okay. I accept you're going to have to do things your way. And I'm here with the med kit when the inevitable happens. I can tell you what it is. I actually ask my girls all the time. I'm like, do you want to know how that works? And they're like, no. And I'm like, I'm here with the med kit when you're ready.
That's how they're going to learn. I mean,
as long as it's not a catastrophic disaster, like, don't underage drink at a frat house with nobody there that you know and get blackout drunk, please don't do this.
This might not be good.
Terrible. This is a series of terrible decisions. These are just have awareness of, like, make good choices. But there's a lot of things: broken hearts, failed friendships, betrayals, losing your identity and trying to fake it so you can be accepted. There's all these things that are like stupid things: being late, getting fired. They're going to have to go through their own life stuff, and life does a pretty good job of teaching you some hard lessons. None of those are catastrophic disasters, though. So I'm like, I'm here with the med kit when you're ready. So, real answer on that one, Druss, you don't really ever really know. And you also don't know, as far as causality, if the choice that you make to leave is part of the inspiration that makes somebody else develop and that gives them the fire under their ass, or if they would have done it if you stayed. I didn't know if I would be an enabler or if I was going to be a support system. You don't know. And you kind of have to make your best guess, and you have to give yourself grace and acceptance if it's totally fucking wrong, or be okay if it seems like it was right. And some people I was correct, and there was a few that I was not even close. I read it way wrong. And that's also a big part of my evolution of being able to ask more questions and have the maturity for a conversation instead of base things off of assumptions on rumors and lies.
So it's almost like embracing the gamble. You got to have the trust in the relation and the willingness to discuss it on the off chance it could work out great, or it could go into the wall. Versus,
we got to approach with understanding. I think that's one of the pillars that we should approach any person with, any relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a relationship, whether it's intimate. You approach with understanding. I want to understand what's going on. I'm not going to add in the pieces. You tell me. And then you have your awareness ready where you're like, okay, I see the bullshit there. I know that one. I've seen that before. And I'm not buying it. But with the other thing Rick said, that's where my faith comes in. Like, the wrong path is the right path a lot of the times. So, like, no matter what choice you make, it's leading you to where you need to go to learn the lessons that you need to learn and do the things that you need to do. So, no matter what choice you make, it's still the right choice.
Or at least is the choice that happened.
Yeah.
We at least have to own it. Well, I did that shit.
And you can put all that into that happened for you, not to you, and you can learn from it and grow and be like, you know, whether it's put a piece of armor in that you didn't know you needed, or, you know, just take the rose colored glasses off, take the shit colored glasses off, whatever you got, and freaking and learn from it. That's all. I mean, that's every life experience. You can learn from it all, and you're gonna be all right.
Hell yeah. And on that note, Warriors, I feel pretty good about this. Hopefully this is giving people some stuff to think about. And if anybody listens to this, I'm sure at some point you go, oh, shit, that one's one of mine. If you guys listen to this, when it gets to trauma responses, coping mechanisms, behaviors, mindset, things that have done, there should be a point for in this that at least some of these are like, I did that, or that one's me. I do that now. Shit. And the reason for this conversation is to raise your awareness of, I need to work on something for myself. If you're like, you know what? I know I need to, but I don't know how to. Reach out. We are all humans who help humans. And you can actually have a conversation with any of us. And you can work with Ryan or Druss or Christy or Dominic when his voice is back. And you're able to be able to say, hey, can we work together on being able to overcome some of these responses that I have? This is what we do. We will teach you how to fight, and we will teach you how to make it so that you can do this too. In which case, all right, Warriors, let's have a good day. For those out there, thanks for joining us on the Battlefield of Mind. And we'll see you guys in the next one where we get into some acceptance talk, because I see where this was going. Good night, guys.
Bye.